What is going on, you guys? It is another episode of the Sci-Fly Zone where the multiverse meets the seventh inning stretch. It's your boys Tread and CJ, and today's destination is the Spider-Verse. We're going to be breaking down episodes 5 and 6 of Spider-Noir. And if you enjoyed this video or this kind of content, please hit that like button and that sub button, as it greatly helps the channel. And also don't forget to check out our shorts content, as that is our video's best and funniest moments. And also, really quick, for these breakdowns of Spider-Noir, CJ and I will be watching 2 episodes at a time and then giving out our theories for what we think will happen in the following episodes and for the rest of the season. So, this is the last time we'll be doing theories because we're just getting the end of the season next time around. It's really exciting, so let's get into it. Episode 5. We catch up with Ben and Kat at the diner that Ben frequents after Kat forced his hand, revealing himself as a spider to prevent her from falling to her own demise. So romantic.
Yeah, very classic romance. That happens to everybody, I'm sure. But I mean, kind of does happen to Spider-Man a lot. You know, that fall was kind of the similar one to like that Gwen Stacy took or that MJ took in No Way Home. That's kind of like a Spider-Man thing at this point.
Yeah, except this time she brought it upon herself.
Yeah, it was very much her decision to make.
Also, during this diner scene, we get an explanation from Ben as how he became the spider, which happens after Ben frees Addison's and Sandman's unit from enemy territory, and then discovers a secret unit of POW test subjects that are riddled with mutations inside the compound. One of them being basically Man-Spider brought straight to life from the comics in very horrific fashion, biting Ben and giving him his powers. I mean, it is so wildly lucky that Ben was able to become the spider after all of this, because this is the first time that I've seen the gene-altering spider bite come from a man-spider type of thing, basically, which, thank God, Ben was like, burn it, burn it, burn it.
Yeah, my God. I mean, this scene first of all, it is very interesting that Ben is the only one to get his powers from somebody else that was being experimented on. He wasn't being experimented on himself. Someone else was, and he got the powers from them. My God, that was an awful, awful image. I hated seeing that, that monster on the abdomen of that man. Horrifying. I would like to never see that again, please.
Like, you almost did a full 180 when we were watching it. Like, you went, whew.
It was, yeah, no, I didn't even think about, my body reacted before my brain could even tell me to do that. It was before I knew it, I was looking in the other direction. I have loved this show so far. It's been a great watch, but there have been some really tough scenes to look at just visually.
Yeah, I mean, being a Spider-Man fan with arachnophobia,
It's pretty counterintuitive. Yeah, it's really unfortunate. I should have picked a different phobia.
yeah. Also, during this siege, when they freed all the POWs, Ben caught a lot of bodies. So it honestly kind of makes sense that he's fine taking out some bodies while he's a spider as well, you know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%. It's not like a new thing to him as the spider taking people out. And I really like that we got this side of him because it shows like how capable he was before he even got his powers, just as a regular dude. He was still a very effective soldier. So having the powers now, it just shows how much more capable he is.
Yeah, and then also I think just having the war going on around this time is a big factor, because imagine there was a war going on when, you know, regular Tom Holland, Peter Parker, when he was around that age, and then he would have to enlist, and then maybe he gets his spider bite around that time, you know. I wonder how much more dark his character would be, per se, you know, considering how dark he went in No Way Home against Green Goblin.
Yeah, I feel like each Spider-Man is kind of like a product of their own environment, and like their upbringing and the experiences they've had turn them into the specific type of Spider-Man they are. So yeah, if Tom Holland was like drafted into a war and had to fight at like 18 or 19 and then got his powers, I'm sure he'd be a totally different version of Spider-Man.
Yeah, 100%, especially since he would have no Aunt May or Uncle Ben to, you know, help him through some tough things going on, especially with what war can bring.
Yeah, 100%.
Back to the episode. Sorry, guys. You know, it makes you think. But we also find out during this diner scene that Ben's love for movies actually originate from him trying to use movies as a medium for him to learn how to manage the changes that the spider bite brought into his life. And I think that's a really cool touch to his character. It kind of,
Yeah, 100%. I thought this was a great addition to his character, how he's like kind of taking notes from these actors on how to be a regular person again after being gone to the war. That changes him as a person. And then also being the spider, that changes him as a person too. So he's kind of like watching these things to try to mirror their actions and their personalities in a way to try to be perceived as more normal.
yeah. So when we catch up with Robbie, he's at the Bugle giving the details regarding the battle with Megawatt. Last episode, him and the Spider, and his arrest to the publisher of the Bugle, which Robbie justifiably will not let them get their grubby hands on the story unless they agree on some new terms, including him trying to do the right thing and having them print a retraction piece calling Sandman and Tombstone monsters. You know, I'm very happy for Robbie because he's a great dude and he's definitely earned his job back and then some. And he also gets his desk back. And it's just awesome to see him succeed despite the odds being against him. And like that big smile when he's sitting down, it's great.
Yeah, this was a great scene for Robbie. I love seeing him feel like he has power and being able to like have control over a situation. And so glad he got his desk back. Basically, like in the front of the room, sitting, just chilling in front of all those racists, just staring at him. He's sitting there grinning, like looking like he's about to give like a State of the Union address. He's living pretty good right now, as good as you can in the Great Depression.
Yeah, very happy for Robbie. It's awesome. And his role at the Bugle will definitely affect more stuff going on later in the season too, which I like. You know, like I like that it doesn't just happen and then it's just left alone.
Yeah, he's a supporting character, but he's not really a side character at all because he plays a big role in the plot and advancing the story.
Yeah, 100%. And at the same time, Sandman is trying to convince Tombstone to start being a criminal full time, since they both believe that their powers are making them sicker by the day, and that they also had the scuffle with the cops last episode. And Sandman even promises Tombstone that Silvermane will take care of him. And initially, Tombstone's like, look, I'm not a criminal. I don't want to work for a white man anymore. Only for him later in the episode to become a full-time criminal and work for Irish Kingpin. Like, it was a really quick switch up, and I get it because at the end of the day, you need to find some sort of security. And I don't see this being a long-term thing. Like, I think Tombstone's going to be out of the group, out, not associated with Silvermane by the end of the season. I think he's too nice of a guy. He's not like Sandman.
Yeah, I think so too. He really does, like as intimidating and big as he is, he really does seem like he's a good guy, and he doesn't really fit with these other mobsters and criminals. Like that's not who he is, you know. And I really like this conversation between the two of them because it shows like they're differing perspectives on their situations in life. Tombstone's like, why would I go work for him? I've been working for the white man my whole life and I barely have months left to live, so why would I do that? And Sandman is like, because we barely have time left to do this and we need to grab life by the horns and do what we can now. I thought it was like just a really good interaction between the two.
Yeah, because it's really interesting to see how both characters will use the same exact situation to either do something or not do something.
Yeah, 100%. As close as these guys are, they are pretty different still. It's all about individual perspectives.
Yeah, 100%. And also later on when Sandman does introduce Tombstone to Silvermane, honestly, Silvermane was such a dick to Cat Hardy. Like, it's like he's trying to intentionally get her away from him at this point.
Yeah, man, she's been so mistreated. It's really unfortunate the way that things are going for her. I mean, Sandman walking in and basically acting like he doesn't know her at all. He doesn't say a word to her. Just it's really got to sting considering the life that Cat felt like they could have had, and now they're basically strangers.
Yeah, very unfortunate, which will lead her more towards Ben's side, which she's already pretty much on.
Yeah, she's just getting more and more reasons to side with Ben.
Yep. So when we get back to our main three, Janet name drops the Super Soldier program, which if this timeline is following a similar pacing to the MCU, the Super Soldier program wouldn't even have been around for another decade until Steve Rogers received it in the early 1940s. And it's not like they're going all public about it until they actually, brought him around to do like the tours for the war bonds and stuff. So either she's just really good at coming up with names for this stuff, or super soldiers have been around since before the 40s when Steve Rogers got his stuff, and this is just somewhat common knowledge in this universe. And that just makes me so curious as to who else is just kicking around in New York or wherever else in this universe.
Yeah, this was a really interesting line. I feel like super soldier is a very specific phrasing, especially in the Marvel universe. Like with the time period that this is and the phrasing that they have, it could just be like an Easter egg, like a wink and a nod at the other experiments that they've done in the Marvel universe around this time. But there also could be something more to that. And I wonder if they're going to address that in any way.
Yeah, I really hope so. But Ben does make a good point while they're talking that if they were experimented on 15 years ago, why are their powers only really manifesting within the last 6 months? And CJ and I were also thinking about this while watching episodes 3 and 4. And the answer is Dr. Faber, who actually sought out Addison, Tombstone, Sandman, and Megawatt. She's accelerating their powers with her attempts to find a cure for their powers through her testing, which is manifesting in more dangerous and unpredictable ways. And every time that they use their powers, they are getting sicker. Crazy plot update here.
Yeah. We've been getting more and more Dr. Faber. We've been getting hints at her throughout the season, but now she's like really integral to the plot, and they're really explaining the impact that she has. And it's interesting that it seemed like the way that they talked about her at first, like Tombstone and Sandman did, it seemed like she was just this saint, but it turns out she's not really doing that, and she's kind of exacerbating the problems of what's going on.
Yep, and later on we'll find out she even has personal stakes in this whole thing as well.
Yes, and that is a pretty cool reveal.
Yeah. So when Robbie does pull up on Dr. Faber to ask her about Tombstone and the other guys, she tries very hard to keep things under wraps. Makes sense. If Robbie does publish her work and anything regarding her stuff, they're done. She's not going to be able to do work anymore because she's working undercover. So she dips, but not to worry, because while she's talking with Robbie, Ben sneaks in and is hilariously sore from his fight with Megawatt last episode, but manages to find the secret files on the POWs of interest. And since he has barely any time to get out of there, he's got to make a web bag for the files. And he holds them out the window and proceeds to pretend that he is someone who's not all there in the head. And it works just long enough for them to get the files out of the web bag and escape. Crazy turn of events here.
Yeah, this is a pretty cool sequence. Robbie and Ben working together. We haven't seen much of them directly working together like this, I don't think, throughout the show. So really cool to see that. Robbie distracting her, asking her all these questions. She's trying her best to hide it, but Robbie's too good at his job. He knows she's hiding something, and he knows that there's something up. And yeah, we got some more Nick Cage being Nick Cage and probably winging it and not really having a ton of script on his end of the acting, like he's a patient at that hospital as well. Like he's been getting a lot of just out of the box character acting, and I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, and I can't wait to talk about that specifically next episode too.
Yeah, 100%. And also it was great to see another use of his webs and how he can use them in different ways without just fighting.
Yeah, the web bag, so cool.
It's such a good idea. And the way it goes back up because there's no more weight holding it down is genius.
Yeah. Like, I want to see like a Spider-Man show in the future, but like Peter Parker can be Spider-Man publicly, so then he can just have like a web bag as his backpack.
Oh yeah, that'd be sick. That'd be really cool. I want Toby, Andrew, and Tom to be Spider-Man going on like a camping trip show. They could do so much. Like watching this show has shown me how many things they could really do with webs.
Yeah, dude. And Ben Reilly's a camp counselor.
Yeah. Oh my God. Give that to me. I would watch 14 seasons of that.
Yeah. And then Spider-Ham is head of activities.
Yeah, he'd be perfect for that. Dude, that'd make $1 billion.
$2 billion. But the craziest part about this sequence with Robbie and Ben stealing the files from Dr. Faber's office is there's an old guy named Ogden who's helping Dr. Faber. And he recognizes Ben from over 15 years ago in France when he was freed. And we don't find out in this episode that he was part of the POWs. We find out next episode. And we also find out that he was experimented on as well, which caused his aging to mutate and occur at the rate that dogs age at. So he's averaging at 8 times the average speed. And we'll talk about the deeper layers of his character next episode. But, you know, this show just does such a great job at adding very interesting little layers to characters' backstories and to characters that you're not even expecting to be relevant to the plot. Like, I thought he was just like an Alfred archetype.
Yeah, it seemed like he was like just an assistant, but yeah, this was a really interesting reveal. And next episode is also really interesting as well. I like how each person being experimented on has very different abilities, and seemingly for Ogden, he's got the short end of the stick because he doesn't really have any benefits to his experimentation from what we've seen. He's just aging quicker. Sandman and Tombstone are bulletproof and they're super strong. The spider can shoot webs, but Ogden doesn't really have much going for him. He's just kind of getting old.
Yeah, if he had to have a superhero name, I think it'd be Rush.
A Monday warrior, mean, mean stride. Today's Tom Sawyer, mean, mean pride.
That's really good. That's really good. I like that.
Thank you. Appreciate that. So let's talk about Megawatt. The guy that's playing Megawatt, Andrew Caldwell. He's got to be one of the best cases of seeing someone having an utterly extreme vision for an otherwise completely unknown character and just like, I'm going to make this my own character and just executing it perfectly. Like, I've never seen anything that this guy's in, but just listening to Megawatt talk and just be who he is from his dialogue combined with the delivery, the physicality. Like, whenever he's in a scene, I am just waiting to see what he does, what he says, how he's going to say it, as well as the interesting ways he's going to attack someone. Like, I didn't think he was going to be the kiss of death. Like, that's crazy. He's so fun to watch.
Yeah, dude, this character has been super interesting in this show. Every scene he's in, he steals the show. Whether it's like an action scene where he's actually like using a light pole to try to electrocute the spider, or he's just talking and saying a bunch of stuff and like being poetic. And he's so whimsical, but he's threatening too as well. Like it's a super interesting mix of a character. He's been so fun to watch. And yeah, that was probably one of the more creative deaths we've seen in this show so far.
Yeah, he's just got a really interesting way of saying things and his rhymes and his speeches. It's great.
He's kind of like the Riddler in a way, but in the Marvel universe, I guess. He's so out of place with the rest of Silvermane's group, and I just love the dichotomy between that.
Yeah, that's a really good way to put it. Yeah. But when we see Megawatt in jail, he's locked up. But not for long, because Tombstone and Sandman break him out and enlist him in Silvermane's super criminal roster. This team is pretty OP, I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, this team's looking pretty good. I gotta say, ever since Silvermane killed Winston, his group has only gotten stronger. He just replaced him with Sandman comes back walking in, and then he convinces Tombstone, and then they recruit Megawatt. Like he's kind of untouchable right now.
Yeah, he's definitely upgraded.
I've upgraded.
Yeah, 100%.
And I was also surprised that Megawatt wasn't sent by Silvermane in the last episode to fight versus the spider as kind of like an FU distraction thing towards the mayor. But it doesn't even matter because he ends up working for Silvermane anyway.
Yeah, I also thought that Megawatt would have been sent by Silvermane because it seems like he's kind of got his hand on most of the people with power at this point. But it seems like he was kind of just one of those criminals like on his own, doing his own thing while the spider was gone. And now the spider is back. So Megawatt can't be doing it on his own anymore.
Yeah, it's really crazy how he just is ending up with the right guys at the right time, but I don't think it's going to last forever.
Yeah, I don't think so. Silvermane has a lot of power and a lot of draw, but I really don't see the story ending with him on top.
Yeah, me neither. But around the same time, Ben and Robbie are looking over the files that they took from Dr. Faber and planning their next move when Silvermane asks him, hey, Ben, come down to the penthouse. And I said it last episode too, but Ben Reilly is a very good shit talker. I mean, he's got 2 bulletproof units in front of him and a guy who can zap your lips shut and shock you to death at the same time, and he could care less. I'd love it.
Yeah, very well said. Even in a room with the most intimidating people in the city, he still has time to crack a joke and make fun of people. It's great. It's very true to Ben Reilly.
Yeah, and that's not even talking about Silvermane.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But Ben is there because Silvermane wants Ben to warn the spider not to intervene in his inevitable battle with the mayor, which is hilarious because obviously.
Yeah.
And Sandman, after the meeting is over, confirms to Ben that, hey, I know that Cat is rat hardy, but I'm letting it go this one time because since you framed Winston, you saved her. So that's cool, but if any other stuff happens in the future, all bets are off. And that is very much the case, as we find out next episode too.
Yeah, absolutely. This is a good moment, though. I like that Sandman knows and decides that he's not going to tell Silvermane because even though these characters are invested in the business with Silvermane, they still have their own personal lives that they care about as well, and that they're trying really hard to not make the two cross. But I feel like in business like this, that's only going to last for so long.
Yeah, you cannot really have too many attachments in a business like this. And I think, The Boys is a really good example of that too. And how in season 5, he basically just gave up having a family for the whole season in exchange for the mission.
Yeah, 100%. And kind of the opposite of that, what we saw in season 2 of Daredevil Born Again, where Daniel decides that he's not going to abandon BB Urich, and that ends up being the reason that, spoiler alert, where Daniel decides that he's not going to abandon BB Urich, and that ends up being the reason that takes him out. It's so hard to have personal lives in this business.
Very true. And speaking of Cat Hardy, Ben meets up with her and tells her that Sandman's powers are in fact killing him every time he's using them, and he's past helping. And they should just run away together. F it, why not? And Cat agrees. And honestly, this caught me off guard initially, but after hearing how Ben was like very, very passionate about wanting this and the way it makes him feel, and I love that for Ben, because all Ben wants to do is support Cat Hardy and, just be with Cat Hardy. And that's something that Sandman could not really give her.
Yeah, 100%. And it feels like he really means this. He's very genuine about this, even though he hasn't known her for very long. She means a lot to him, and he does want to run away with her. And it seems like she really wants to run away, because this is the second person she's agreed to run away with. But, she has to get away from Silvermane. She needs to do it in any means necessary. And she obviously does care a lot about Ben as well.
Yeah, and seeing Ben's happiness with Cat agreeing to leave with him was also quite a treat.
Yeah, that was a really sweet scene as well. Ben obviously like head over heels in love with Cat at this point. He's running his mouth. He can't stop talking about how in love he is, essentially. And Janet, she delivered it well. It seemed like at first she was worried for him. She kept repeating his name, and he was going on. But then she stopped him and said, I'm really happy for you. And yeah, that was sweet. She's so great, man. I love her so much.
Yeah, very awesome character. And, speaking of Sandman also not being able to give Cat something, to talk about my point earlier, she meets up with him again because she finds out from Ben earlier that his powers are making him sick, because she didn't know that till now. So she wants to go check on him. And he is just blaming her for not asking him to kill Silvermane, because he's saying, oh, I would have done it for you if you would have asked me. Dude, you think after all the stuff that he says to her, you couldn't have had some intuition? Completely diverting accountability. And she's mad at him because she feels like he's choosing Silvermane over their relationship, and also just being emotionally immature. And in the midst of his rage, he almost collapses the freaking theater set on Cat, and Tombstone had to swoop in and save her. And I'm kind of happy he shook his head at him, because you cannot rage to the point where you can hurt Cat Hardy like that. What the heck, man?
Yeah, 100%. Sandman is clearly very upset, but everybody around him can see that he's in the wrong. The way he reacts to Cat in this way is very unnecessary. He's blinded by his rage to the point where, like you said, he almost kills Cat. And yeah, Lonnie holding him accountable for that and giving him that stare and shaking his head was great. I really like that, because even though they are very close, Sandman needs to be held accountable for that. He can't be doing that,
Yeah, also, that's why I love Tombstone, because I don't think a guy like Megawatt would have gave a shit.
Yeah, no. Yeah, he probably wouldn't know. He would have cared more that they were ruining the theater, being a former theater kid, that it almost killed Cat.
Yeah, he probably would have said something like, hey, she probably has 9 lives, huh?
You're gonna pay for that, right?
Oh, man. Yeah, so thank God Cat's cool, but things are not looking good. And honestly, mostly things seem lost with Sandman. He's with Silvermane. He's not really being with Cat anymore. But then Tombstone drops the biggest info drop, the most critical piece of information that he's just been holding on to this whole time. And it's that Dr. Faber thinks that the spider's mutation is the very key to the antidote for their powers and for their sicknesses. So then this prompts Cat to seek out Dr. Faber and reveal Ben's identity as the spider in exchange for her promise to help Ben and the other bad guys. And that's how episode 5 ends. Wild.
Yeah, super dramatic ending to this episode. The episode is titled Betrayal. In a way, Cat is the one doing the betrayal, because she's giving up the identification of the spider and that it is Ben Reilly. But this betrayal was more reasonable and understandable than I thought it would have been. Going into the episode knowing the title, she has a point in telling Dr. Faber this, because she is worried about Flint and she's worried about Lonnie, and she has people that she cares about and wants to save them. And turns out that Ben might really be the answer.
Yeah, and also Ben did open up to Kat, so she wants to possibly give Ben Riley the opportunity to be Ben Riley as well. Like, it's a very multifaceted objective.
Yeah, 100%. That's another thing that I meant to mention that I sort of picked up on. It's beneficial for Kat because she gets away from Silvermane, but also Ben Riley doesn't have to be the Spider anymore because he doesn't want to be the Spider. He's tried so hard. The first 2 episodes were him trying not to be the Spider, and then he gets pulled back into it. So now he has to be the center of the solution. And spoiler alert, it does not go very well.
Yeah, so episode 6. It opens with Ben packing up his things, getting ready to leave with Kat, or so he thinks, because Ogden, the old guy helping Dr. Faber, shows up to Ben's apartment and has a few drinks with him and tries to convince him to not only stop Robbie from printing the story about Dr. Faber, but also that he knows that Ben is a spider. But Ben tries to gaslight him and be like, damn, dementia's hitting early. Which is a crazy thing to say, but it is the 30s. People were a bit more blunt about stuff like that back then. But this causes Ogden to drug Ben and kidnap him to Faber's lab. And this was probably possible because he had a few drinks in him. That's what I think.
Yeah, most likely. He definitely caught him off guard with that injection there. I mean, whatever they gave him, it had to be pretty strong because it has a crazy effect on him, and he is incapable for a while after this. I really thought that Ogden was coming in to just try to convince him and just like talk him into participating, but when he pulled out that shot, I was pretty surprised about that.
Yeah, but for him, it is kind of life or death, so I don't blame him for taking those measures.
Yeah, it's literally life or death. Ben could be the one to save his life. So yeah, desperate times call for desperate measures.
Yes, sir. And the double and like triple framed edits with like the Dutch angles during like the transition into the lab was a really sick editing touch. Like, I don't think I've really seen anything look like that in a show or a movie in a while. Like, it was very creative.
Yeah, I love all the angles that they do it, the shadowing that they have, the sounds. Just they do a really good job at creating an environment and making you feel like you're in that environment. This would be like a really great show to watch in 4D if that was possible.
Yeah, definitely. Like, this show creates a really crazy sense of uncomfortability.
Yeah, actually, that is a good point. I wouldn't watch this show in 4D because those spider scenes I would walk out of the theater. Never mind.
Yeah. You would feel like a bunch of little tinglies under your feet.
Don't even say it.
And then you got like the sound near your ears of the.
Oh God. Oh God.
You brought this upon yourself. This was your idea.
We have to cancel the recording. Please. Well, yeah, I shouldn't have thought of that.
And speaking of that, we're going to dive right into it because we got a flashback of the onset effects of Ben Riley's spider bite. And they are very spider-like muscle spasms with the typical sticky fingers, sticky hands play narrative, which I always love when they do that when the spider person discovers their powers. It's pretty cool. And also the heightened spidey senses that he's feeling. And honestly, Ben Riley's are a bit more dramatic because he's in the middle of a war.
Oh yeah, man, I didn't even think of that. But spidey sense in the middle of a war must be insane. That's got to be some. Yeah, that would be an insane experience to have. No wonder he is the way that he is. That is a stressful way to live.
Yeah, I mean, it's just constantly fight or flight, and he's fight.
Yeah, yeah, basically, yeah. And I love the spider twitching that he's doing with his limbs in the bed. It's so like solely physical acting. There's no dialogue. It's just solely Nick Cage just doing a bunch of stuff. Like, and it works. Like, it kind of reminded me of back Ashley and the boys controlling Ashley's body, and Kobe Minifie is doing the scene where she's like stumbling and walking backwards. It's like, the premise of it is really out of the box, and it could be super corny if it isn't delivered and performed as it is, and they both did a great job.
Yeah, 100%. I totally see where you're coming from there. And also like that few seconds where it seems like Ben Riley's looking right into the camera almost and being like, yo, are we having a moment right now, man?
yeah. There's been a couple times where they like look directly into the camera in the show, and it's like it's a really cool experience as a watcher.
Yeah, and I honestly love how creepy and uncomfortable it felt because that's been a big theme of most of the powers that we've seen in the show that's been established in this universe. Like, they are rarely cool and they really seem like more of a burden than anything else, and they're only viewed positively when they benefit those in power, like the spider.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. I'm really glad you brought that up because you would think that having a superpower, if you will, would be awesome. It would just extremely increase your quality of life. But the way that it's been showed in this show, their superpowers are more like a burden to them than they are a benefit. And we see that especially with Ogden and his particular case from his experiment. But everybody does seem more uncomfortable with their abilities than they are happy to have them.
Yeah, plus with the case of our particular villains, every time they use their powers, it's making their bodies decay.
Yeah, exactly. And it's all just to benefit the rich, normal guy that's just paying him to do what he wants.
He wants the spider to go away.
Yeah, yeah, yep.
I kind of worked in a bit of Aussie there. I don't know what happened. But anyway, we also get a final reveal with Ogden's character. He's got one more layer going on, and that being he is actually Dr. Faber's son, and that Faber needs Ben Riley to save her son from aging to death before his mother will. Crazy town.
Yeah, man, this was a very, very interesting reveal. Big twist to the story that I was not expecting. But it does kind of put some of the lines from earlier, from the previous episode, into context. When Dr. Faber is talking to Robbie and Ogden is sitting next to her, Dr. Faber introduces Ogden and says, "He's been with me for quite some time and he's very protective." At first glance, I didn't really think much of that line, but after that reveal, "He's been with me for quite some time." Yeah, she gave birth to him. They've been together his entire life. He's very protective. Yeah, she's his mother. He's going to be very protective. Like they planted the seeds very early on, but I was not seeing it coming at all.
Yeah, 100%. It's like what I was saying before too, like how they just add interesting layers to characters that you're not expecting to find interesting layers for.
Yeah, it really feels like every aspect of each character is very intentional and has a lot to do with the story they're telling.
Yeah, 100%. So Ben's locked up on the bed. They're trying to figure out what in his body will give away the key to why his mutation is the way it is so that they can reverse engineer it to make an antidote. And Dr. Faber is just struggling to find out where in Ben's body lies the secret. So this reveals just how far this woman is willing to go to save her son, even if it means letting Ben die as a consequence. And when they drug him up, I mean, this nightmare sequence, man, showing his trauma, his fears, stuff with Winston, Donegal, his spider bite. It's just crazy.
Yeah, yeah, this was a insane nightmare spider sequence. He's basically the size of a spider in this. He's dodging cars, not trying to get run over. This was super trippy.
Yeah, like as uncomfortable as parts of the spider is to feel, it is part of Ben Riley as much as he hates it or fears it. And that shows that like it creeps out from inside of him when the inside of him can be exposed.
Yeah, 100%. It's not like it's just there for shock factor and to be a horror thing. It has a role to play and it has a reason for it. And there's probably a reason for that because Ben's not very comfortable with himself either. Like he's not comfortable with his body. Hopefully he doesn't have arachnophobia because that would be the worst curse a Spider-Man could probably get. But yeah, like it's a great way to express the feeling of the show.
Yeah, man. 100%. But Dr. Faber does actually find the answer in his liver material. The liquor riddled liver of Ben Riley holds the answer to his mutation, apparently. So she's able to reverse engineer an antidote in a few minutes.
Here's the thing, it's gonna be a very cool scene, so I need you to get all the way off my back about the logistics.
Oh, okay, I'll do that.
And it works first time around. And pretty sick, honestly. Like he looks just like he's supposed to be.
Yeah, I mean, it works perfectly. It takes a couple seconds, but I mean, the transformation was cool. He looked just like he did in the pictures. Yeah, he's Freckles again. He's back.
Yeah, that like continuous spin shot during the transformation was pretty cool too.
Yeah, I liked it a lot. And as weird as Faber seems, and as we'll get more into who she is as a person, but Ogden does seem like a nice person. He does seem like a good guy, and he does want to help the people that have been struggling with the same thing that he has. So I like his character a lot.
Yeah, I mean, he did everything he can to try to help Ben too.
Yeah, 100%.
But now that Ogden's fixed, Dr. Faber just wants to leave Ben in the, like, just strapped up inside of the lab, not help him out or give him the antidote either. Thankfully, Ogden has more sympathy than his mother, as he says, I will kill him, not you, so that she can be distracted while Ogden can let Ben escape in his drugged up state. And it honestly couldn't have been a moment later, because Silvermane is pulling up at the same time with the Three Musketeers to find out if any other super people are at the lab, because if anyone would know, it's Dr. Faber. And how do they know where the lab is, you might ask? Well, not only did Robbie get his article published, it really seems like the Bugle tampered with it again, because they are once again labeled monsters, and it sucks because he literally cannot catch a break with the Bugle. So just poor Robbie, man. Stuff's getting screwed up.
Yeah, man, he cannot catch a break. I mean, he's doing everything he can to create an honest story and to like let the public know what is really going on, and they just keep tampering with his work. They can't let him get the truth out because they have a narrative that they want to set.
Yeah. So Ben's on his way out, and luckily he can nab the antidote on the way out. So that's pretty sick. But Silvermane and crew show up and they ask her, yo, where are the super people? And she's like, I got them in the back. So they walk in the back, and it's just a bunch of dead, failed mutations. They look freaky, man. It's pretty sinister. She's Mrs. Sinister, if we're gonna be funny.
Yeah, she really is. Yeah, yeah. This was pretty dark. Just a bunch of vats full of failed experiments, former prisoners of war. Like, imagine being a prisoner, getting drafted, going to war, becoming a POW, coming back, and then this is how you go out, just getting experimented on, just with no progress really happening because they weren't the ones that led her to the cure. So, like, just a brutal way for them to go out, man.
Yeah, very, very tragic indeed. And since the Three Musketeers are already pretty upset about the article, they're already pretty riled up. And then Ogden shows up trying to defend his mom. He shoots Megawatt. Megawatt freaks out and kills both of them. Super tragic ending. And then his antics get the whole freaking lab burnt down. And the episode ends with Ben Reilly in possession of the antidote and a decision to make.
Yeah, man. This was a wild way to end this episode and the Dr. Faber story, basically. We've been leading up to her for a lot of the season, and yeah, this is the end of her story. This is the end of Ogden's story. I feel really bad for Augie, man. He does seem like he was a good guy. He just wanted to help the other people struggling like him, and he wanted to get his life back with his mother. And as soon as he gets that back, he dies at the hands of one of the men he was trying to help while lying next to his mother. Just such a tragic way for him to go out. It's like a Shakespearean death tragedy. Like, man, I feel bad for him. I feel less bad for Dr. Faber because she was just gonna abandon Ben and Lonnie and Flint and Megawatt, but she was just gonna abandon the rest of them and just try to run away with Augie. But he's still her son, so like it was still a really tragic ending for both of them.
Yeah, very, very, very conflicted circumstances. And now we got to find out if Ben's gonna do what Ben's gonna do with the antidote, and honestly, if Tombstone is still gonna stick around.
Yeah, there's a couple decisions that some characters are gonna have to make, and it's really gonna play a big role in the last couple episodes of the show. I'm thinking next episode is probably when we're gonna get some of those decisions, and then the episode after is gonna be obviously the culmination of the whole story. We're gonna get the consequences of people's actions throughout the show in the last episode. So 2 episodes left. It's going to be very exciting to see.
Yeah, I'm very excited to see how everything wraps together, man. So if you made it this far, thank you guys so much for watching. We really appreciate it. And, we're going to be covering more DC content as well, more Marvel content, Supergirl's coming out, and also Brand New Day's coming out too, where it's going to be super awesome covering that stuff. But just, again, if you made it this far, thank you so much for watching. Also, if you like baseball, check out our stuff too. We got some fun baseball stuff. But yeah, thank you so much for watching, and we hope to see you guys in the next one. Peace.